Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the debut episode, the pilot, if you will, for a new series called TGC Radio. I've had an idea for this series for quite a while, and I decided to not do any of those ideas, just because it wouldn't really work, especially not for a YouTube series, but I want to keep the idea around. So, TGC Radio will be a series where every week I will chronicle my most listened to music, because again, as I've said plenty of times before, music is one of my all-time favorite passions. And for the other episodes, I'll show you my most listened to songs, my most listened to artists, albums, etc. And I'll be using Last.fm for this just because I'm a member on that site anyway. But with all of that being said, the pilot episode, the episode number 1 here today, I'll be going through my most listened to songs from December 31st all the way until the time of recording, November 25th, 2023, of course. And then I'll have all of these in a playlist on Spotify. I'll link in the description. You can check out that playlist if anything seems interesting. And then I'll add to it, and that'll be like a big 2023, all of my most listened to tracks from the year. And I'll do the same thing for next year, and I want to make this a cool weekly thing. But with that being said, let's get into it. So, starting with my most listened to song from December 30th all the way to January 5th, and that is Follow You Down by the Gin Blossoms. Which for me at the time, I'd been getting into Gin Blossoms quite a bit, listening to their biggest songs kind of obsessively. So Follow You Down made the cut to finish out 2022 for me and start off the year. And then after that, January 6th to January 12th, we have Against the Current's Running with the Wild Things. Against the Current is actually currently, according to Last.fm, my most listened to artist for the entire year so far, and that's not surprising. I have been absolutely obsessed with them for quite a while. Really ever since I found their Fever EP back in 2021. I listened to that. I think right before that I got into Outsiders quite a bit. So yeah, Against the Current, I listen to a lot right now, and Running the Wild Things is next. And then from January 13th to January 19th, we have Against the Current one more time, but we have Strangers Again. Which, that goes to... I found the song, really liked it, and it stayed in constant rotation for me. And it's one of my most listened to tracks throughout the entire year. And I absolutely adore Past Lives as a record, too. Love that record a lot. I've spun it a lot throughout the year. It feels like a nice kind of like feel-good sit-down record for me. But then from January 20th to January 26th, we have Against the Current one more time. Another song, though, another different one, and that is Outsiders, mentioned before. And again, not on an album for them. I just love the song a lot, and this is one of those songs where, for me, in some of my other videos, well, like talking about 3 Days Grace, for example, where I don't like their song, I Am an Outsider. When I say, like, there's another song that does the concept better than what they did, that's Against the Current's Outsiders. Again, similar concepts, I think Against the Current does it significantly better. And yeah, that was the most listened to song from January 20th to January 26th. And then from January 27th to February 2nd, we have We Are the In Crowd's Lights Out. And We Are the In Crowd was a band that I got into rather late into 2021 as one of my, at the time, like one of my favorite bands was All Time Low. And when the initial kind of controversy and allegations with them happened, I wanted to see if there were any bands that people said were similar that I could look into and do some research on. And I had some people saying that We're the In Crowd is similar in sound to All Time Low. And I don't fully agree with that sentiment now, but regardless, I absolutely adore We Are the In Crowd. I think both of their records are very good, and their EP, Guaranteed to Disagree, is also very good. It's kind of a shame that we haven't got more from them, but I mean, hey, we got 2 B-sides from Weird Kids, and those are both very good, especially Perfect Reason. But yeah, so Lights Out from We Are the In Crowd from Guaranteed to Disagree was January 7th to February 2nd's most listened to track. So February 3rd to February 9th, we have the song Self-Destruction as a Sensible Career Choice by Spanish Love Songs from their album Brave Faces, everyone. I adore this band. I adore that album. And this one, admittedly, isn't actually one to come back to very often. This one's mainly when I'm using Spotify. I have like a big playlist where every year for the past few years, I would create a playlist where any song I noticed I was listening to quite a bit, I would throw into that playlist for the year. And this was one of them, and that playlist, for whatever reason, just kept, even still to this day for the most part, it plays Self-Destruction quite a bit when it's on shuffle. So, not my favorite track on the record, not one I seek out normally, but yeah. It played enough to get on the most listened to tracks in early February. But then February 10th to February 16th, we have Safest Place by Echosmith. And Echosmith is, again, another band that around the same time as Against the Current, I started to really get into. And I practically fell in love with their first record, Talking Dreams. I love the deluxe version of it with the extra songs. I love the record a lot. And Safest Place just absolutely just kind of like, I don't really have a good way to explain it, but I love Safest Place a lot, and I love that record. And honestly, I went back to, for another video that should come out probably a little, like early into the next year, I revisited their second record, Lonely Generation, appreciated it way more, and I do like their self-titled record that came out this year as well. But yeah, Safest Place, my favorite track from Talking Dreams. February 10th to February 16th, most listened to track. So then we go from February 17th to February 23rd, and that is Futures by Jimmy Eat World. And Jimmy Eat World is a band that, if anyone who knows me knows, I listen to a lot of like pop punk and emo and stuff like that. And I love Jimmy Eat World. And Futures is one where I adore this song, and I think, I haven't listened to Futures in full, but from what I've heard of Futures, I absolutely think it's a stronger record than Bleed American. And I love the title track. The title track is so good. So that was my most listened to track from February 17th to February 23rd. And then from February 24th to March 2nd, we have another song for Against the Current, and that is Lullaby from the Fever EP. And yeah, Lullaby is one where it's kind of like been a sleeper hit for me. It was never one that stuck out right away for me. You know, like obviously a song like Weapon stands out, and like my favorite track for quite a while after listening to Fever was Burn It Down. And I think it still might be, but like I said, Lullaby's been a sleeper hit for me, and I love the way that Chrissy belts out the chorus. And lyrically, I like the lyrics a lot. Especially like the Take Your Pretty Smile line. Love Lullaby a lot. Sleeper hit for me. And that was the most listened to track from February 24th to March 2nd. So then March 3rd to March 9th, we have Ed Sheeran's Bad Habits featuring Bring Me the Horizon. And neither act I'm very familiar with. Bring Me I don't necessarily care for. I like a good amount of bands who are kind of like associated with and kind of they're similar to. But Bring Me's early stuff throws me off. Like I don't mind like metalcore and screaming and stuff like that. But Bring Me was definitely more like deathcore, and I just don't care for that. Not my thing. And then Ed Sheeran's okay, but I don't know, before Bad Habits, specifically the Bring Me cover, I was never really a fan. Like, everything I had heard from him was like, this is a fine pop song, but I would never go out of my way to listen to it. So, yeah. That's how I felt about both acts. But there was just something special about Bad Habits, especially with the feature. Like, I think the original's fine, and I've heard it play plenty at my job. But, yeah, no, the feature with Bring Me the Horizon, I think, just really adds something that was missing to the song, and it's a very good song. But yeah, Bad Habits featuring Bring Me the Horizon was my most listened to track in early March. So then we move on to March 10th to March 16th, and that is Kick by Spanish Love Songs, another song from Brave Faces Everyone, and this is my most listened to track of the year currently. And yeah, that is, well, I guess the best way to sum it up is Kick right now, from March 10th to March 23rd, really. So 2 weeks in a row, Kick made my most listened to track. And like I said, my most listened to track of the entire year. And I adore, like I said, I adore the band, I adore the record. I think it's a must listen. If you even remotely like emo, it is a must listen to record. It is absolutely emotionally draining, and even the frontman of the band said, like, Brave Faces feels like it's a sad record that sounds sad. And that is true. But again, I think it's a must-listen for sure. It's one of very few records that I would call a perfect record, personally. And like I said, Kick, my most listened to track, it's probably my favorite song on the record right now. And it was my most listened to track 2 weeks in a row in March of this year. But then March 24th and March 30th, we have Love from the Other Side by Fall Out Boy. Now, I had started listening to this track when they first dropped it at the start of the year, and I'm someone where I've talked about it before, especially in stuff I've recorded for that other video I was talking about earlier. But I'm someone who I've never really delved into discographies very much. It would always be more of like, I'd pick and choose, find singles, find some deep cuts, etc. But I would very rarely listen to full albums, and that was me with Fall Out Boy. So I know of the band, I know them pretty well, but I never sat down with a full album from them, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to do that with So Much for Stardust. And my thoughts on the album aside, I think their album is fine. I think there's genuinely some very good songs on there, some songs that really have grown on me throughout the year. And I think it's a solid record. But Love from the Other Side, I think, hands down, is the strongest song on that record. And I absolutely adore it. Such a good song. And I also don't, funny enough, I don't care for the edit where it takes out the intro with the piano. Like, when I hear Love from the Other Side, I want the full thing. I don't want you to skip just to the guitars. No. Give me the piano intro, thank you. But that was March 24th to March 30th. Love from the Other Side by Fall Out Boy. Now, my most listened to track from March 31st to April 6th is What Do You Want From Me by Forever the Sickest Kids. Yeah, see, I already knew I loved this song, but at some point throughout the year, it probably was around this time, I sat down with their EP The Weekend Friday, and yeah, solid EP. There's one song I don't like, and that's the closing track on the record. I won't get into that. That's for a different video, and that will come out. Probably. But nonetheless, yes. What Do You Want From Me? I adore the track. I fell in love with this song and started liking the band because it's the closing track from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. The first one, that is. That came out when I was a kid. And yeah, that being the track in the credits is like, holy shit, like, this song's really good. And you know what? That's probably why I should have figured out that, oh, hey, the writing was on the wall for me loving, like, pop punk and emo and stuff like that. I guess in this case just pop punk, but, whatever. Yeah, I love What Do You Want From Me, a very good song. And Forever the Sickest Kids, What Do You Want From Me was most listened track at the end of March into April of the year. And then April 7th to April 13th, we have a repeat again, and that is a repeat for Bad Habits featuring Bring Me the Horizon. And what can I say? I like the track a lot. It's made me more interested in both acts' discographies, and I probably will delve into both at some point, just not now. And then from April 14th to April 20th, we have another repeat, and that is Safest Place by Echo Smith, the second time it's appeared on this list. Then from April 21st to April 27th, we have The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves, one of my favorite songs of all time. I absolutely adore the sound Angels and Airwaves goes for. I like Blink a lot. And yeah, I love The Adventure. Completely adore that. And you'll hear more about that in that other video that I've hinted at before in the video. Then from April 28th to May 4th, we have Blink-182's Bored to Death. You may be surprised that the first Blink track that's made this list of most listened to per week throughout the year is a song from the Matt Skiba era of the band, but I just started listening to the song and it's like, holy Christ, this song's really good. I genuinely love this song. That's all I can say. It's like, I genuinely love this song. And I've recently, at the time of recording, sat down with both Nine and California, and I think they're both good, you know? At times, I don't think they sound like Blink records necessarily, but in general, I do think they're still good records, and I think there's something to appreciate with that era of the band, you know? Do I think the highs that they have with Matt are better than the highs with Tom? Not necessarily, but I think both eras of the band are completely valid. And Bored to Death was my most listened to track from April 28th to May 4th. Then from May 5th to May 11th, we have a cover song, actually, that is the cover of Daylight by Alex Goot. And of course, that's Daylight, the Maroon 5 song being covered. And I had actually found that whole record that he did. I think it's Alex Goot and Friends Covers 3 or something like that. It came out in like 2013 or something like that. And yeah, that entire covers record I like a lot. And I was listening to it, I think, the previous years when I found it, and I started listening to it again throughout the year. And yeah, Daylight is one of my favorites on there. I'm not even really a fan of Maroon 5. I don't hate them. I think, probably like most people, the earlier stuff is better. It's the highlight of the career, especially songs about Jane. But yeah, no, Daylight I think is still a good song, and I like this cover a lot, and I don't mind the original. So yeah, Alex Goot's cover of it was my most listened to track in early May. But then we go from May 12th to May 18th, and that is The Mother We Share by Churches. And I'm not really familiar with Churches, I only know this song, but this song is a bop, and I love it. And from May 19th to May 25th, we have Against the Current back on the list again, and that is The Fuss. And another track from past lives. I love the album a lot. It's been in constant rotation, and The Fuss was another one that, for me, was actually my Spotify shuffle just playing a lot, so. Still a good song, though. Then from May 26th to June 1st, we have Viva La Vida by Coldplay. I actually did sit down with this entire record, and it's one that I tried to listen to this record while doing other things, and that just didn't really work for me. So it's one where I want to sit down with the record again and see how I feel about it. But I do like the title track a lot. But then after that, we have June 2nd to June 8th, and that is the return to pop punk for Cassidy Pope, the frontwoman of Hey Monday, with her song People That I Love Leave, with specifically the Jax feature. I'm not really familiar with Jax as a creator, as a musician, but I was familiar enough with her that when she was doing the Teenage Dirtbag, but from the opposite perspective, and I did like hearing that a good bit, so I knew of her through that. So I was like, okay, I listened to both versions of People That I Love Leave. I liked the one that was just Cassidy, and it's like the different vocal style that Jax brought to this version. I thought, okay, this is cool. I like her contribution to the song. And that led me listening to it enough for it to be the second song on the list, to be back-to-back weeks from June 2nd to June 15th, really, where 2 weeks in a row, it was my most listened to track. And it would have been, it would have actually been 4 weeks in a row from June 2nd to June 29th. But from June 16th to June 22nd, I started really listening to We Are the In Crowd a lot again. Because I kind of like taken a break from listening to them. But then Exits and Entrances from their first record popped right in that little spot. So that's there, and then June 23rd to June 29th, People That I Love Leave returned. To be the first song, actually, that featured 3 times on the list. And, again, People That I Love Leave, I love a lot. It's really cool to see Cassidy Pope doing pop punk again. And With In Crowd, I talked about, I love them a lot. And I think Exits and Entrances, not the strongest song on the first record, but it's still a very strong song. But then after that, we have June 30th to July 6th, and that is around the same time that Spanish Love Songs released the first single to their new record, No Joy, Haunted. Of course, the record came out August 25th of the year, and Haunted, I absolutely fell in love with right from first hearing it. And I know actually quite a few people weren't so keen on it from everything I've seen online, but I love Haunted. I love Haunted. I've probably listened to it an uncomfortable amount of times, but it's so good. It takes what I already liked about Spanish Love Songs and sonically makes it sound more accessible. Because that's one of the criticisms I can see people having with Brave Faces. If you're not into emo, you're not going to like Brave Faces. But with No Joy as a record, even though I think lyrically it's even more depressing, sonically, you could play this, sonically you could play No Joy for someone, and that person could get into it. And Haunted just demonstrates that in full. And I love it a lot. But we do have actually 4 weeks in a row, Spanish Love Songs all the way. So from July 7th all the way to July 20th, 2 weeks in a row, we have Cleanup Crew, their second single released for No Joy. And this one I like a lot now. It did have to grow on me quite a bit though, to be honest. But once it did, I found myself listening to it all the time. But then, from July 21st to July 27th, we have Haunted by Spanish Love Songs getting its second play. And again, to be honest, I talked about it with Cassidy Pope earlier. This actually could have been 7 weeks in a row of nothing but Spanish Love Songs. But from July 28th to August 3rd, my most listened to track was actually another cover from that same Alex Goot covers album. This time it was Clarity. And again, I like this cover a lot. Very good. And again, I also want to shout out for this Alex Goot cover record, even though it's like a decade old at this point. Everyone that also featured on that record and performed the songs with them all did a good job too. Very good job. I love that covers record a lot. And Clarity was just another good song that came up quite a bit on my Spotify shuffle. But then from August 4th to August 10th, we are back to Spanish Love Songs, and that is Losers, Part 1, from Brave Faces, everyone. And again, I love this song a lot. I'm not going to sit here just continuously gushing about Spanish Love Songs here. But yeah, Losers made the list. And I think at this point, I do prefer Losers Part 1. Whereas before, when I first listened to the record, I preferred Part 2. But from August 11th to August 17th, we have the third time Haunted has made the list. And what can I say? Like I said before, I love this record. And No Joy is actually a record I want to sit down with more. Because I've only done one full sit down with the record so far. And that doesn't feel right. But I'll listen to it more eventually, though. That will be coming. But as we move away from emo a little bit, we have August 18th to August 24th, Let's Love by Echosmith. Again, a song from Talking Dreams. This one actually, again, not my favorite from Talking Dreams, but Spotify end up playing it a lot since I threw it in my playlist. My main playlist, that is. But then from August 25th to August 31st, we have Fat Lip by Sum 41. Again, I'm actually not the most familiar with Sum 41. I know them a good bit. But I'm only really familiar with some of their earlier pop punk stuff. I have not delved into their later work, like Chuck Onwards stuff, you know. And it's something I do want to do, and I'm really looking forward to their double album, Heaven and Hell, knowing it's a metal side and it's a pop punk side. So I'm probably going to start with that, honestly, for really digging into their full discography eventually. But I'll get there. But from September 1st to September 7th, shouts out Tyson, my best friend. You guys know if you're familiar with the channel, as his birthday's in this week that we're talking about now. Nonetheless, the song for this week was The Middle by Jimmy Eat World, their most well-known song, the most overplayed song by the band. Still a really good song, though. I dig it a lot. And I do listen to it quite a bit. But, you know, it's not my favorite song by the band or on Bleed American. Just a solid song that always makes me think of. There's a lot of bands who say, you know, yeah, this song, it almost didn't make the record, and it's their most well-known song. So it's hilarious. And The Middle was that way for Jimmy Eat World as well. It almost didn't make the record, which is just hilarious, right? Kind of like how, if you know Rise Against, their song Savior, originally when recording that, Tim, the frontman, hated that song and didn't want it on the record, and the rest of the band convinced him to keep it. And also learned, actually this year as well, Ocean Avenue, the title track of Ocean Avenue, almost didn't make the record because there was something off with the vocals on Ocean Avenue, and they just almost didn't finish it in time. So yeah, I always think about that when I think of The Middle, and it's just so weird how that happens. But nonetheless, that was The Middle, September 1st to September 7th. Then from September 8th to September 14th, that is the song Leave Me Alone by the artist Cassidy McKenzie. And in case you don't know who she is, because she is relatively smaller, she's a creator on YouTube, is where I've listened to her stuff, but I know she's on other platforms as well. She was doing a lot of covers. I was like, okay, this is really cool. I like the style she's got. And then she ended up dropping, I think, to this day, her only original track. And the way I like to describe her is she gave us a bop and then she disappeared. Very upsetting, but, you know, at least we have this song, you know. I think it's a very good song. It's a very good song, and I always find myself coming back to it. But then we have the return of Against the Current on the list from September 15th to September 21st. And that is the song Strangers Again, the second time it's been on the list. Then from September 22nd to September 28th, we have Blink-182's More Than You Know, the technically third single, I guess, from their newest record, One More Time. It's currently my favorite track on the record. I like it a lot, and that's really all I can say. It's a very good song, the only time Travis has ever used double bass on a Blink track, and yeah, just an all-around solid tune, and really shows that, you know, yeah, like, Edging was the first single, and that I've always stood by, was clearly just, like, a very safe first single. It's Blink doing Blink things with Tom back in the band, you know? And just showing, like, can we still write together? And the answer is yes. But then One More Time and More Than You Know really showed, like, yes. Like, Edging is one thing, and that's, like, us if we had never matured in any way. Like, that is Mark and Tom writing a song that could have been on Enema. You know, point blank. But One More Time and More Than You Know really show how much they've matured. And I think the more mature sounding Blink is honestly some of their best material, you know? Like, they started to get more mature on things like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and Boxcar Racer and the Untitled especially. But even with like the not recording together for Neighborhoods, even that's still a more mature sounding record. And again, it only shows from here. And I like that they acknowledge like all eras of the band on this new record, which is very good. But yeah, More Than You Know was from the most listened to track from September 22nd to September 28th. And then from September 29th to October 5th, we have another cover, but this time it is Tonight Alive covering Little Lion Man, originally by Mumford & Sons. I know both tracks, I know both versions of the track, and it's one song where, like, I don't have an issue with Mumford & Sons at all. In fact, there are times where I really get down, like, with some folk music like that. And Mumford & Sons have songs that I genuinely like, but the Tonight Alive cover, I think, is so much better. Like, I love it as a song. And the Tonight Alive version is a song that, funny enough, was on my sister's playlist, and it came up a good little bit. And, like, as soon as I heard it, it's like, it started to come up for me, and it just started to be in constant rotation. It's like, okay, yeah, this song's really good. I like the cover a lot. But then from there, October 6th to October 12th, we have Cleanup Crew by Spanish Love Songs, again, the third time it's featured. And then October 13th to October 19th, we have The River by Good Charlotte featuring Sinister Gates and M Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold. And I like this song a lot. I think it's easily the strongest song on Good Morning Revival. And that was an album I sat down with throughout the year as well. And yeah, I think the record is fine for what it is. I don't love it. But again, I think The River, it's got some really good songs on it. I think The River is the strongest of those good songs. But then October 20th to October 26th, we have PATT, Pretty All the Time, by Against the Current, another song from Past Lives. Talked about that before. I think the song is good. And again, it just kind of shows that, you know, coming from a woman as well, you know, why do women have to always, you know, like, be pretty all the time, you know? But then from October 27th to November 2nd, we have the song English Blood American Heartache by All Time Low, and that is from their record that dropped in 2023 as well, Tell Me I'm Alive, which, funny enough, is a record that, obviously, because of how familiar I was and how much I liked All Time Low prior to, like, all of the allegations and controversy about coming out with the band, because of how much I used to, like, really like All Time Low, I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, I'll check out this new record. Why not? I mean, it feels like it would kind of feel wrong if I didn't listen to it. So I checked out Tell Me I'm Alive, and at first I thought, okay, the title track I was not a fan of. I didn't like Modern Love, really, but the lead single, Sleepwalking, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, I like that song a lot, you know? I thought, it's like, yeah, this is good. Sleepwalking genuinely felt like it was continuing where they left off on Wake Up Sunshine. And the songs, and the other just singles that had, and the other singles they had released in between that didn't make any record. Like, it felt like it was a continuation of all of that. It worked. I liked Sleepwalking a lot. Didn't like the other two singles. But then, sat down with the record. I didn't really care for the first few songs, the front half of the record for the most part. There were some exceptions to that, but then as the record went on, I was like, okay, I genuinely think this is a good record, and I think All Time Low still works, you know? It's not their best record, and in the grand scheme of their catalog, it'll probably be more middle of the road, but there's some really good material on here, you know? And I think English Blood American Heartache is genuinely the best song on that record, and stands up with some of the best songs they've written as a band. And it ended up making my list rather recently, with October 27th to November 2nd. But then we have another Spanish Love Songs. This time it's their cover of Jimmy Eat World's Futures during the week of November 3rd to November 9th. Again, a solid cover. They released an EP called The Doom and Gloom Sessions. Surprisingly, their cover of Blink's I Miss You, which is titled I Miss You, Doom and Gloom, didn't make the EP, funny enough, but yeah. This song, their cover of Futures, is on there, and just like with Futures by the original, by Jimmy Eat World, I like this song a lot as well. I like the cover a lot, and like, surprisingly, you know, Dylan, the frontman of Spanish Love Songs, has a different vocal style to Jim Adkins, but it still works for the song. But then November 10th to November 16th, we have Alex Melton's Autumnal. And again, if you don't know, Alex Melton is a content creator and a musician. He's currently signed to Pure Noise Records, actually, which is fucking sweet. I've followed him for a few years now, and through a lot of his covers, and, you know, if Blink wrote blank songs, the cover format series, and it goes, all of them are great. I like Alex a lot. And then Autumnal is just a great fall vibe. Intentionally a great fall vibe as well. Just all around good tune. And just an all around good tune, and sums up why fall is such a great season. And it's my favorite season as well. And the last song we will be talking about in this list, in this video, from November 17th to November 23rd, the most recent week that I have access to looking at on Last.fm, my most listened to track was Flawed Design, the title track from that record by Saint Asonia. Saint Asonia is a band I like a lot. Obviously, you know, a bit of a supergroup. Well, they started out as a bit of a supergroup of, like, Adam Gontier of 30 Days Grace, Mike from Stained, and they started out as a bit of a supergroup, the entire band, but slowly throughout the years they've become like their own band, essentially, not like supergroup anymore, replacing members and stuff. And yeah, no, I like Saint Asonia a lot, and I don't care for their first record, like, at all, and I don't recommend anyone listen to that unless you listen to their 2 EPs and then Flawed Design first, and it's like, okay, you've listened to that, you know what they're capable of, then you can go back. But yeah, no, I think Flawed Design is some of the best writing, if not the best writing, Adam's ever done for a record. And, like, to me, it's even better writing than 1X. And I love the title track a lot, and I like it lyrically. I like how everything flows. I really like the guitar solo in it. And yeah, I was just listening to it a lot throughout this past week. But yeah, that is the pilot episode of TGC Radio, where I chronicled every single one of my most listened to songs throughout the entire year. I will keep adding to my playlist on Spotify. I'll put a link in the description for you to check out that playlist if you so choose. You know, I hope you enjoyed listening to me go through all of this, talking about my favorite songs throughout the entire year so far, everything I've been kind of obsessed with, listening to a lot from week to week. And again, other episodes will be formatted differently. I won't be doing the rundown like this. I'll be focusing more on, you know, the week-to-week listening stuff, going through artists, albums, etc. I thought for a pilot episode this would do a good job, and I hope, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.